Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and our show today is Talking Heads. If you're joining us for the first time and wondering what is Talking Heads, it's a platform where experts from around the world come and share their knowledge, their experience, their expertise in their own 30-minute show. Today's expert is Mr. Al Cini. He is the voice of USA Global TV. He is a co-host. Obviously, he's a talking head, and he's an expert listener, which we call elevated listening here on our platform. Let's welcome him to the show. Hello.
Dr. Jacqueline, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much again for the opportunity to present. This is session 4. Of 5 sessions on the subject of brand and cultural alignment, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. We're getting a lot of great feedback about what you're delivering. Your content is really helping people and getting noticed, so keep it up. I'll be backstage watching. You have a great show, and then I'll come back at the end.
I'll look forward to that, Doc. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody, and I really appreciate the attention you're giving to this subject. Today's subject, or the fourth part of our 5-part series, is really about the effect of the result associated with aligning people's brand, which, as we said in earlier episodes, is their behavior, with culture, which is the complex, let's say, of emotions and values that motivate behavior. So what we're really doing here is talking about the dynamics of motivating a group of people to make them more productive, to make them more committed to their work, to get your organization better results. And there are so many misconceptions around what it takes to make people happy. What I'd like to do really is devote a big chunk of this program to explaining the difference between happiness and productive, because I don't think people really appreciate it as much. And I learned it 2 ways. The first story is that for many years, I was a contract project manager for a pretty large company. And the projects that I managed were not managed in the traditional shame and blame sense. I mean, usually a project manager's job is to set deadlines, identify people who are missing on their deadlines, make them feel embarrassed about it, yell at them and scream at them until they finally start hitting their marks. That's traditional project management, and I didn't do it that way. I realized, and early on, that there's no way you can get anybody to do anything except by making them want to do it. This is an old principle that goes all the way back to Dale Carnegie, and that is key. I mean, the key really to getting something done is to motivate people's intrinsic desire to do things if they love what they do, and if they feel as though what they do has significance and benefits them in some way. Now, there's another lesson in all this too. I'm going to bring up my slide deck here. Another lesson in all this, and to teach you that lesson, I'm going to ask you to say hello to my little friend. We've been living with COVID now for 2 years, and we continue to live with it. And you would think, given COVID, and now that many people in the workforce have the opportunity to work from home, and what could make somebody happier than eliminating their commute into work every day and allowing them to work from home? What could make them happier than that? What we found is that there's been a huge fall off in productivity, not related to COVID, but related to something that COVID has revealed. And we like to say, in many of the programs that I co-host with Dr. Jacqueline, if you think that 2022 is about getting back to 2019, then you really didn't learn anything from 2020 or 2021. What we're learning, experiencing COVID, is that COVID is actually revealing something that's been present for a long time. And that has to do with the lip service that we typically pay to how we feel about the work we do. and our expressed concern and maybe virtuous signaling around the whole idea that we need to make our employees happy. There is an awful lot of culture talk out there, discussion about what does it take to make my people happy? And a lot of that is centered around surveys that are essentially grown-up versions of the children's song, "If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands." Plenty of companies out there, and a lot of individual companies have created their own surveys, the goal of which is to try to find out from people if they're happy, with the assumption that if they say yes, then they'll be more productive. If they say no, then I need to make them happy in order for them to be productive. And we've learned, in fact, it's not so much about talking about culture, it's in fact shifting from culture talk to culture do, because when a team of people is aligned with the core purpose that represents their reason, the reason for their work, they become engaged in their work, they devote all their energy to it, and a very important needle that we measure, something we call the index of alignment, drives all the other needles that every business owner wants to drive in their business. Every project leader, every group manager, every team leader wants to move the index of alignment needle, because moving that needle moves all the other needles, the needles that make a difference with respect to getting work done. Now, let's imagine that needle were on a wall in your office for the team that you run. Let's imagine that you can quickly glance at that needle and see whether it's in the red zone, which means my people are actually fighting with each other, or if it's in the green zone, which means my people are working together harmoniously. So imagine that you had an index of, and we actually create this with the service that we've designed. Imagine you had that hanging on your wall and that you could tell by looking at it the mood that your people was in. The red zone in our indicator means that you're actually dysfunctional, and the yellow zones mean that you're apathetic. And the green zone means that you're purposeful, aligned with people. And it's no point just measuring something like this. That would be culture talk. The important thing is to remember that there needs to be a dial that goes along with it that includes experiences that move people from a dysfunctional state to a purposeful state, past apathetic. We often call this employee experience, and we've learned in our experience that when you align people with their purpose, their reporting of how they experience their role as an employee tends to improve. People report that they feel more intrinsically rewarded by the work they do. That's employee experience. And everybody will tell you that when you improve employee experience, you also improve customer experience, because the people who work on our team are the people that a customer encounters first. The more engaged our employee is, the more satisfied our customer will be with the service that they provide. So driving the employee experience needle also drives the customer experience needle. And that isn't enough. When you drive those two needles in a positive direction, you tend to reduce turnover. People tend to stay in the company, especially the good ones. You tend to improve innovation. People become more nimble and creative on the job, and they become more focused on results and less focused on just activities. So people concentrate more on what they're showing for the work that they do at the end of the day, rather than just telling you what they did all day. And that shift means you shifted from just talking about work to actually getting things done at work. And it's an amazing miracle when that happens. And at the corporate level, when you bubble all this up, this means that your people are more aligned with the mission you're trying to accomplish in the company that you created. You get better top-line revenue performance as a result of this. And when it comes time to exit your business, whether it's through a merger or a sale, the value of your business is improved by virtue of the fact that your people are more engaged in the work they do in a measurable way that you can prove. So that essentially is index of alignment for us. That's the number that ranges from -1, which is our people are fighting with each other all the time, to +1, which is our people are working together, happily generating results on behalf of the company. And we've found in our research that our index of alignment is highly correlated with a very well-known survey in the marketplace called the Gallup Q12. Gallup has been surveying employee moods for 20 years, actually more than that. And in their surveys, they found that the baseline level of employee engagement is about a third. Yeah, about a third of all employees, only about a third, are actually engaged at any level, let alone highly engaged at any level in the nature of the work they do. They've also found that when you find an organization who, in the Gallup Q12, pushes up to about 70%, and this is why we say we're the needle that moves all the needles, 70% engaged employees, 68% is actually kind of a critical level, That improves profitability, accelerates results. You get better customer ratings. You get less absenteeism. You get less inventory shrinkage, which is essentially pilferage. You get higher quality output, and you get happier customers. So moving the needle on the index of alignment, which is what we do with the Brand and Culture Alignment Toolkit, moves the needle on employee engagement as measured by Gallup. And Gallup worldwide has measured that when you improve employee engagement as they measure it with the Q12, all those KPIs that you see there on that slide improve along with it. That's really critical. From the point of view of an individual employee, the reason why this works is a Japanese principle called ikigai. You're looking at the kind of Venn diagram here that describes it. The ideal state for anyone is that they feel as though the work they do has value in the world. That's the spinning globe on the right. They also feel as though the work they do is something they love doing. And they're highly motivated to do that work. They come into work every day excited about the day ahead because they love doing what they do. And finally, they feel like they're fairly compensated for it. So ikigai is the happy confluence of those four motivating factors. And individual employees are always looking for ikigai. And when an employer can deliver it, when an employee can create an employee experience that delivers this, they get terrific results from the people that they employ. It's wonderful. Now, we're going to discuss four subjects very quickly today. And one is reframing that whole concept of I hate my job. I want to talk about that first because it's a common complaint, especially during COVID. And we'll see when we look at the numbers in a second why COVID has kind of revealed that. I also want to spend a little bit of time on reimagining the whole idea of rewards and incentives because how we reward our people is kind of cockeyed. I want to explain that. I want to talk about the importance of aligning people with purpose as a better way of motivating people than just making them happy. And I finally want to talk about the importance of this process in the work you do. If you're a consultant or a coach or a trusted advisor, aligning people with purpose could be part of the way you work. And we'll talk about where it might fit into your portfolio of services. Let's start with I hate my job. Everybody's heard it. Everybody at some point in their lives has probably said it. What we're talking about is that apathetic feeling that people have because they feel as though what they do doesn't matter to anybody and they're only doing it for money. And it's not clear at all that it benefits anybody or changes anything in the world in any kind of a positive way. That for us is an index of alignment around the middle of our dial, pretty close to zero. People are just not actively engaged in the nature of the work. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not performing in their silos. They're certainly being accountants and lawyers and doctors and doing the things that they were trained to do. And in fact, it's not that they're lazy at all, because often business leaders who work with us say one of their frustrations is they feel as though everybody in their organization is really busy and working all the time. It's just that for all that work, nothing ever seems to change. That feeling that we're not moving forward despite all the work, the 60, 70 hours a week that people are putting in. Okay. That is a dysfunctional call. And yeah, this is, by the way, this is the story that gets the headlines. What you're looking at here is a video that I'm kind of fond of. It's from a security camera at a snow removal company in the Pacific Northwest. And it's an indicator of the kind of behavior in a company that tends to get headlines. The Mercedes is the owner's car. The snow removal equipment that you're seeing rolling over the Mercedes is operated by one of the employees of the company. This is the kind of headline-making event that everybody will take notice of when they see it in the newspaper. I'm happy to report, by the way, that the owner of the company was not in the car when this happened. I'm sure the employee was disappointed by that. If we were to do a BCAT at this company, there's a pretty high likelihood that we'd find that people's sentiments were on the negative side of our index of alignment. But that's a very, very small percentage. I mean, as noteworthy as those events are, those black swan events are rare relatively. The more common event is that people just don't care. And when they don't care, only a third of the people in a company actually focus on the work. That means 2/3 of your projects don't complete on time or they deliver unsatisfactory results. 2/3 of project initiatives are stalled. Only 1/3 of the things that you start actually get finished in a way that people can report as successful. Now, this is a huge source of frustration for the person who is investing continually in the employee experience by creating incentives. And there is a huge amount of money spent annually by large and small corporations on programs to improve employee morale. And morale is something that is best measured, not just talked about. I'll show you what I mean by that. Now, a little while ago, I mentioned that Gallup has been measuring the level of employee engagement in organizations for about 20 years. The Gallup Q12 consists of 12 items like the ones you see here. I feel like I belong. I have friends at work that people respond to. And Gallup then measures the level of percentage based on those results, the percentage of employees that are actually engaged in their work. And since the early 21st, end of the 20th century, their measurements consistently have shown that only about a third of employees year after year actually report that they care about the work they do. Now, beginning in 2010, organizations recognizing that this is a problem began doubling and tripling down on the money they were spending on making their employees happy. But for all that money that they've spent, the annual international reporting of the Gallup Q12 results has not improved. Now, you'll see over there around 2020, there was a little blip. Interesting. Around the onset of the pandemic, there was an uptick in Gallup's measurements from 30% to about 40%. It seems like everybody was excited at the possibility that their employers might now finally get it. Now that we've had this pandemic, maybe we'll restructure the way we motivate people. That lasted for about 2 or 3 months, and about a quarter in, as they continued to survey using the Q12, the number actually dropped below 30%, where it currently sits about 28 or 29%. So what COVID has taught us is that all our efforts to try to make people happy are really not working. In fact, a lot of the programs we create to make people happy don't work. For example, I'm not saying that assessments are a bad thing, but assessments without some kind of follow-up, where the results of the assessments are built into the plan for the company, they're worthless. They really won't get you if they're a fun experience, and people will say they learned a lot from them, but they don't fundamentally motivate people. Also, taking people out to play paintball, or taking them bowling, or taking them out for big dinners, and then it's an awful lot of money spent year after year by large and small companies on various team building experiences. These are great, and I would never tell anybody not to do it, because relationships among employees are important. You want to try to forge them where you can. But I don't have to tell you this. If you've done it, you do it on a Friday and people are buzzed about it on Friday and talk about it over the weekend, and on Monday, it's back to work. It's like none of that ever happened. And this is my favorite experience. You try to sit everybody down and try to find out what really matters to them. So you put them in a conference room, you ask them what their values are. They tell you honesty, trustworthiness, Boy Scout type stuff, Girl Scout type stuff. You write all that down, you have it embroidered, and you hang it on the wall in the conference room, and it's probably still sitting there collecting dust, because none of that ever really mattered to anybody, because those questions were never really tied to the performance of the work, the nature of the work they do. It was just an exercise. Yeah. Let's sit down and really, really think about this. For all the money we're spending to try to make our people happy, how is it that making our people happy by spending money on them isn't changing anything? Well, if you really think about it and think about it deeply, you realize happiness isn't a cause, happiness is an effect. Happy people don't become productive. In fact, productive people become happy. So being productive and feeling like your work matters, that's what makes people happy. That means that we really need to rethink all the carrots that we dangle in front of our people, the training, the bonuses, the travel awards. Not saying don't do them, but if they're done in a way that is divorced from or separated from the purpose of the organization that these people work for, if they feel as though these awards are just awards, then they interpret them subconsciously as bribes, and they have no effect on their level of motivation. Oh, surveys, assessments, team building exercises, all those rewards and incentives programs, that's us telling people we want them to be happy. And that is a good thing. It's a good motivation for an employer, definitely. But they're just events. And when the events are over, there's no sustainable change in the culture of the organization as a result of these events. Oh, what really motivates people? There is a URL on this slide. If you Google RSA and motivation, you'll find this YouTube video, and it's brilliant. Uh, Based on research summarized by Daniel Pink in his book Drive, the three things that motivate people, the three things that people need in order to become more motivated in their work are the feeling that they're free to work within their jobs without being micromanaged. That's autonomy. The feeling that they're given the tools they need to improve their competency level, to become better at what they do. That's mastery. And the third, and the most important, is probably the trickiest one of all. And that's the feeling that everything they're doing adds up to something. That's purpose. Now, autonomy means don't micromanage. Mastery means give people training experiences and learning opportunities. Those are simple. The harder part is the part that really makes a difference, and that's alignment with purpose. What people really want in their work to feel more motivated is purpose, not perks. They're not looking for daycare centers. And although, I mean, they're always good to provide people with benefits, and you need to be competitive there. But the benefit itself is not going to change things. It's the alignment with purpose that matters. Now, aligning people with purpose, as we've talked about in the last 3 episodes, are about connecting culture, which is the way people feel about their work, which is the pride they feel in the work they do, with the delivery of the work they do, the promise they make, the promise they keep every day to the people they serve. That is, for us anyway, the alignment of brand and culture. What people do and why people do it need to be aligned around the purpose of the organization that they're a part of. And they need to be reminded about that all the time. Now, every company that ever started with that intention in mind. They started with the whole idea of intentionality. Anybody who ever formed a company started with some kind of a vision they had in their heads about how they were going to change the world. Now, I know there are an awful lot of companies out there that are accounting firms or law firms, and you may think this isn't true, but if you really, really talk to an entrepreneur about why they do what they do, they'll tell you this is really why they do it. And their frustration over time is that as their organizations grow and they build a hierarchy under them in service to this world, the world gets further and further away. Their purpose becomes more and more remote. The work that they do becomes more about the individual transactions day to day, less about the actual difference that they make. So mentally, and I've had this experience over and over again, what we need to do is change the way our organizations are structured. We all serve the world. Whatever work we do, however mundane, it is in service to the world. We make a difference in the world. The people that actually deliver those services, they're actually at the top of our org chart. Under them are the people who own, run, and manage the company. Our job at the bottom of this org chart is to make sure that our bosses, which are the people who work here, have everything they need to deliver the difference that we had in mind when we created the company in the first place. Never forget that. Now, for us, we use a 4-factor back to episodes 1 and 2 in the Talking Head series. I go over this in pretty elaborate detail. Connecting on our 4 factors, culture and brand, are largely about connecting the way people feel about their work, what they sense inside of them, with what they know about their work, which is how they think about the work they do. When you connect people's heads and hearts, you brandish the purpose of an organization in such a vivid way that people can see and meet and get to know the purpose as though it were a person. Now, our 4-factor model is based on 4 what we call role targets, role models that represent ideals that embody the values and spirit and goals and the reason why we love the purpose that we serve. We have a way of measuring that. We talked about that in earlier episodes. And our measurements are based on some research that's been done with PET scans on reactions that people actually experience in their brains when they have certain experiences of words and images that they see. And everything that we do with brand and culture alignment is based on this research. Now, summarizing it again, because we talked about it the last time, here are 16 pretty well understood logos of companies. We talked about that a lot in episode 3. My point here is at the heart of every organization, successful organization, certainly, but any organization, there is intentional behavior and motivators, that's brand and culture, that inspire all of us to keep our promise to the customers, to the world we serve. Now, whether that promise is a creative promise, that's the lower right, or it's an analytical promise, that's the upper left, or it's a get things done promise, upper right, or a take care of people and follow the rules promise, that's lower left, whether it's precision, resolve, innovation, or harmony, That promise is our purpose. Our purpose is to deliver, understand, and deliver on that promise every day. Now, in our model, we've created 24 positions on a game board, and at each one of these positions for any given company, there is a specific role target that represents that company when it's doing its best work on its best day to keep all of its promises and achieve all of its goals. Now, aligning people with purpose is as simple as identifying the role target that represents the best of all of us and introducing that role target to everybody in a way that engages them and getting to know that role target as though we're somebody they can meet at a party and get to know and make friends with. What we've found is that when people align themselves with this role target that represents the best of them, they implicitly become aligned with the purpose they serve. And they realize Gandhi's dream. They become the change they wish to see in the world, the change that represents the purpose of the company that they're a member of, that they're a part of. Now, we know this works, and you know this works. If you were ever in a dentist's office when you were a kid, you might remember a magazine on a chair, on a table, called Highlights for Children. And Highlights for Children had a cartoon in it, Goofus and Gallant. Goofus was the kid who did things wrong. Gallant was the kid who did things right. We learn by emulating, following, observing the behavior of role models, and then adapting what we see, what we observe into incorporating it into our repertoire of behavior. Now, whether your team is the top of a company or a department in a company or a project team within a company, a role target represents that team when it's doing its best work on its best day. You can start this process anywhere in a company at any level, with one department or one retail store or with the board of directors. You can pick a department or a group or a team inside the company and start the alignment process there. And it all centers around that core question: are we each performing at our very best? And I said today I'd talk about our step 3, and how we derive our step 3 is a little bit complicated, but I want to talk about the results. When you measure people's alignments with the role target that represents their best self on their best day, you begin to close the gap between how they feel about their work and how they perceive their work in a way that makes them more productive and more engaged. And one of the side effects, one of the consequences of that, this is the 15 commandments. We allow 15 commandments, but if you've ever heard the expression, what would Jesus do? What we're really doing here is bringing that expression to life, except of course it isn't Jesus, it's the company, the organization, and the purpose we serve. So as part of our step 3 process, we deliver to a client the 10 up to 15, generally 3 or 4 is a minimum, but the commandments that represent the best of us every day. For example, when we commit to giving everyone on our team the opportunity to fully express their thoughts and feelings, we're increasing our focus on harmony, becoming more of a caretaker. When we commit to always answer the phone before the 3rd ring, we're increasing our commitment to resolve, getting things done. We become more of a driver. We set goals for ourselves and we meet those goals. When we commit to taking the courses and earning the certifications that demonstrate, that enhance our expertise and demonstrate our capabilities, we're committing more to precision and becoming more of an expert. And when we commit to cleaning up and putting our tools away, and this is one of my fun experiences, we actually did a BCAT for a trucking company and found that the broken windows idea actually applies in corporate governance. When people make commitments to simple things like cleaning up and putting tools away at the end of their shift, when they commit to things like being more harmonious and becoming caretakers, that behavior actually ripples through improvements in delivery, quality assurance, fewer mistakes on the job, fewer accidents. And finally, recognizing and celebrating individual success and excellence would be a commandment, what Jesus would do if the goal of the organization were to foster an innovative culture and brandish ourselves as creators within it. So those 10 commandments are the basis for improving performance by starting with an index of alignment that's in the apathetic yellow range in the middle of the meter. And by following those commandments and by creating what we call personal alignment plans, which we'll talk about in the last episode, which is next week, When we talk about creating personal alignment plans to follow these commandments and become more like the role target that represents the best of us, we move that needle from the red zone to the green zone, all the way through all the yellow zones. And that's what makes not only each of us individually a better steward of the promise of the company, but also makes the company more effective and more successful at the work they do. Now, really quickly, because I know I'm running out of time, this is about culture do, not about culture talk. This is about acting in accordance with the change we wish to make every day, because now we have a role model we can follow that teaches us how to do that. That's what shifts the equation from I hate my job to I love my job. And no matter what the nature of the job is, loving a job is more about being aligned with purpose than it is about just being happy because of the perks and the benefits that I'm getting from my employer. Now, we have a certification program. The reason why we're finding value in that, the reason why our customers are finding value in that is no matter what service you might deliver, whether you're a management consultant or a business consultant, aligning people with purpose could be part of the way you deliver that. If you're an executive or professional coach, it's not just about making somebody a better version of themselves. It's about making people a better version, a better citizen of the team that they serve. And that team can be brought into the whole coaching process if you use BCAT. Also, the value of a business is a function. I have a friend, Dave Bookbinder, that I quote often. Managing the human capital, managing the intellectual property, those are all important, but managing the level of motivation in a company is what drives real sustainable value in a company. And finally, if you're into selling, what better way is there to sell than by taking your message and wrapping it around the candy center that represents the purpose and the promise of the company you make? Every word, every drawing, every picture, every element of your brochure ought to reflect every day the difference you make in the world. And if it does, that makes your brand more compelling, makes your sales more successful. And Dr. Jacqueline, that wraps it for me for today.
Hello, Al.
Hello, Dr.
Well
Jacqueline.
done. Well done. I love the animation and the graphics that you have. They really draw you in.
It was it was fun. It's fun for me to represent it that way because I think that's what, for me anyway, it's about moving. It's about doing. So animation it's fun for me to express it that way. So thank you. I appreciate you appreciate it.
And we actually have a comment, which is Deborah Wilson. Great info. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Deborah. I appreciate you tuning in. And next week, what we'll do if you'll indulge me, it'll be our last of my 5 talking heads. We'll put it all together and talk about a program that you can actually follow as a leader of a team to walk your people through all of our steps and align them with the purpose they serve. It turns out to be a pretty simple, completely different way of running a Zoom meeting, but very effective.
Fantastic. Thank you, Deborah. She's my sister. So thanks for watching and commenting.
Thanks,
very nice.
Great.
Okay. Yes, there were many takeaways for me. One thing I just wanted to mention was I was smiling to myself when you were talking about mission and vision, because I've sat in so many of those meetings and everyone's like, why are we doing this? And then you have to stay in this room until you get it done. And then you just put something together, they hang it up on the wall, and voila, there it is.
I was in a conference room recently where I saw it hanging on the wall, and it was just a little off center. I mean, nobody ever bothered to reposition it. You know how that happens over a period of 5 years. It's been there for decades, for all I know. A little layer of dust on the top of it. It's yellow. Its corners are yellowed, and it's cocked off center because that's how much they care about it.
Yes, it's definitely not a lot of. It's not an exercise that provides a lot of value in terms of purpose, and
not unless it's followed up. And
yes.
and that's critical, really critical.
Exactly. Al, I want to put up your contact information, and you shared with us that you have one more episode. So my question is, we actually have, if Abraham Maslow played Jenga, he wouldn't have drowned us as a pyramid, and then results follow when you connect the head and the heart.
Yeah, that sounds like we're actually going. I'm staying pretty close to what we originally thought we were going to do, aren't I?
Yeah, there are actually 2 episodes that you have left. So are you combining them both?
Well, I didn't realize I had 6. I thought it was 5, but you know what? I can do 6.
All right, 6.
I can actually see some value in that. Let's do that.
All right. As a producer, they keep me around here, so.
Yeah. Well, I always appreciate the opportunity. It's very kind of you to offer that for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm going to spotlight you, and if you would let people know how they can reach out to you and who can connect with you. I know you said this earlier, but again, would be great.
I am easy to reach. And thank you all for listening today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your attention and your consideration, and I hope you've been able to find some of this information to be useful. If you want to reach me, I'm best reached, I guess, by email, al.cini, al.cini, @getbcat.com. Also have a toll-free number, 855-999-BCAT. It's 2228. So feel free to call or email or reach out, and happy to talk about this subject. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Fantastic. And we've got your phone number up there now as well, 855-999-BCAT.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. For some reason, it doesn't want to let me. Okay.
There you go.
All right. Thank you so much, Al, for being here today. And I look forward to speaking to you soon and seeing you next week.
Definitely. Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline. You have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Bye. Thank you, everyone, for watching and for sharing the information. Our talking heads put a lot of work into what it is they do to share with us. So if you find value in it, please reach out to them and let them know. Okay, coming up next is the Corner Bookstore. And our guest today is Max Regan, followed by the Film and Music Show. And our guest is David Addison. Then we have The Wise Ones. Our guest is Sandy Lawrence, followed by our last show of the day, which is Talking Heads. And our expert presenter today is Mr. Red O'Laughlin. So I just want to share a couple of things with you. While I have you, we have a big event coming up, which is our reunion show. This is on May the 1st, and this is open to the public, to everyone and anyone who has something to promote. We will be live streaming for 6 hours, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time, again on May the 1st. And if you are a business owner or you have a product, a service, a film, a book, poetry, an event, and you want to promote it on our platform, please consider being part of our reunion show. Space is limited. We have, I think, about 10 spaces left. So you can actually go over to Eventbrite. I'll put the link in the comments if you would like to join us for that. The next thing is that we have the elevated listening community. In addition to running USA Global TV, I also have a second business, which is Dr. Jacqueline, LLC, and I teach people how to listen at an elevated level. I'm also a certified life and career coach, certified meditation teacher, and certified yoga instructor. Yay. So if you're interested in any of those services, or you'd like to be part of our elevated listening community, every Sunday, you'll receive a link to a video. The video is made by me and some of my team members each weekend, and it will include a guided meditation, a fitness tip, a tip to be a better listener, and also some of the key points of all of our shows will be focused on. So we focused on non-fungible tokens in one of our shows, which was really interesting if you're not familiar with that. But you can go over to drjacqueline.com/join and be part of our community. All right, we're going to close out with a couple of sponsorships, and then we'll be back in less than 20 minutes. So you can stay wherever you are watching us, and I'll run over to the other studio. Okay, thank you so much. See you soon.
Ours is a world of wonder. Every day it reminds us of its beauty. It touches us, teaches us, and astounds us. But it also warns us that what we throw away does not go away. That higher temperatures mean a lot more than longer summers. That we can no longer take life as we know it for granted. We are at a unique stage in our history. Never before have we had such an awareness of what we are doing to the planet. And never before have we had the power to do something about that.
Well, this performance was not about ice dancing. It was deeper. It was rooted in who they are as people, where they live. It was not a made-up story. It was a real story brought to the ice. Not many words to be able to fairly and accurately describe.
Just call my name if you ever feel down or feel afraid, 'cause nothing is stronger than men who stand as one for a long time.
All the things that pass, million times the troubles seem to be
easy, and days felt so bright with you.
I remember you always been my family member.
That's the time when we need to stand together. I made this song for you. Hope it reaches and puts a little bit
Smile on you
and fills your mind with hope, because you're not alone. We're together in this love. We stand forever.
Peace is what we need. Everyone knows the truth, no matter which side you be. you might realize
you're not alone. We're together in this love. We stand forever. One thing to